Hey guys, it's Brian Underwood, and I'm sitting here on my front porch. Was sitting here talking to some friends and some business associates, and we were actually just talking about individuals that kind of take it to the edge. I got super inspired, and I actually played a clip from David Goggins, a good friend of ours. He just went on a rant, talking about being obsessed, and it reminded me of a time where I was young. I was looking up to a mentor, and we were talking about what it takes to be successful. And I wanted to share it with everyone because I think it's super important. And one of the things David Goggins said in his little rant that I loved was he said, some people look for balance, and that's great. But for people that want to create a freaking legacy and win at the highest level, the gold medalists, the world record holders, the people that are making a major impact in the world, they're obsessed with it. Like, it's not about the money. It's not about crossing the finish line. I mean, it is literally an obsession. And for people that don't have that engine or that level of tenacity, they don't understand it. And one of the things that David Goggins said was he just talked about, give yourself permission to be misunderstood. Like, normal people aren't going to understand someone that is going for greatness. They're just not, because they have no understanding or idea of what it takes to seed greatness. And that is every ounce of energy in your body. My dad used to always say, it was a life lesson that I had, is that, he was building a CPA firm. He came from nothing. He went out on his own, and, he said when he was building it, it was consumed him. Like, when he was in the shower, he thought about it. When he was laying in bed, he thought about it. And that's what it took for him to change the trajectory of his kids' lives, right? And give us an experience that he never had before. And I think so many people, because of social media, because of, a lot of this hype they feel like that they can achieve greatness or these levels of success that they see on social media or people living these extravagant lifestyles without putting in the work, right? Without putting in the investment. And what does that investment look like? And it just reminded me of a time that I was sitting on a porch in Dallas, Texas. It was actually Cedar Hill, Texas, with a mentor of mine. And he was telling me the difference of having sorry, people are driving by, getting a little bit distracted, but we'll get back on track here. He was talking to me about the difference of, having like a fake Rolex and a real Rolex, right? And that whole conversation, what it kind of evolved into was, the fact is you can wear a fake Rolex, right? And other people see it, they might think that it's real, but whether it's real or not. And he said, when you know the value that it takes to buy a $100,000 watch, and that's kind of what he had, he put it on my wrist. He said, has nothing to do with other people. I wear that watch for me because I realize the value of that watch and what it took for me to sacrifice, to invest, to work, to be able to earn it, right? It's earned, it wasn't given. And we just started talking, and at that time, it was early 2000s, and he was talking about, for people to say that, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, those were the two examples we were using, they're crazy. And doesn't it take for the average person to see someone as crazy, for someone to do what Steve Jobs did in the world, or what Bill Gates has done for the world in terms of created a major disruption that's going to carry on? I mean, when you think about today, who's crazy out there? Jeff Bezos is crazy. Like, when is that dude going to retire, right? Like, think about it. He's not going to ever retire. Like, he is actually making decisions right now today. He's making investments that will not come to fruition for 30, 40 years down the road. He's making bets on the future decades in advance where he won't even be alive to see what he's putting in today. Why? Because he's obsessed. He's obsessed with how far he can take it, how far he can go. And I think that whatever it is that you're doing, if you want that level of success that the top 0.5% of the people in the world get, you have to be obsessed. And everyone else is going to think you're crazy because you're out there on the edge. But when you're out on the edge, when you're out on the limb, that's where all the fruit is. So it's really about what you want, right? I don't think balance is bad for those that want balance, but you can't have balance and expect to have greatness in other areas of your life. You just can't. Because that level of greatness at that extreme level, it takes a little bit more. It takes a little bit more. And I see people maxing out their incomes at 100, 150 a month or 50 a month, and they could double it, triple it, quadruple it, but they become content. They become comfortable in where they're at. And they look at someone that's going for $1 million a month and they think they're crazy. Well, they don't have a balanced life, and they make all these excuses. But you got to understand, that doesn't mean that they're not happy. Their happiness is in the pursuit of how far they can push themselves. How far and how great can you be? You have potential. Are you going to use it? And how much are you going to use of it, right? There's always time to do everything you want, but how do you want to experience your life? What do you want to leave behind? And so all of those things just kind of resonate in my head. And I think about Jeff Bezos and think about Walt Disney, right? You know, it's the whole story of when the reporter came up to Walt's brother and said, man, if Walt was just alive to see all this, when they first opened Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. And his brother looked at him, he said, you don't understand it. Walt saw this way before we ever did. That's why we're standing here. See, that's the difference in someone that's going to the edge. It's someone that's doing something that is going to leave a legacy and an impact on generations and generations to come. And I'm just telling you, that has to come from within. You can't teach that. You can't hope it. I think it's a lot like sports today. My kids are getting involved in sports, and sports is more competitive than ever before. Kids have to focus on a singular sport at like the age of 10. It's crazy. But the reality of it is you can teach and put a kid in sports, but if they don't want it, if they're not hungry, if they don't get eaten up saying, hey, let's go practice. Hey, let's go to the batting cage. Hey, let's go to the gym. Hey, come on, Dad, let's go do this. They have to be hungry, because when they get up against someone just as talented or to put in just as much time or more time, the only way they can get their edge is they have to want it more than that other person. And I think that life is so short. It's so sweet. The question that I have to each and every one of you is how are you going to live your life? How do you want to live your life? Because that time thing is what we have scarcity of. That's what you don't know how much time you have left. So, give it your all. It's the whole saying that, everyone dies, but a few people live. And when I see people that are living and going to the edge, there's something inside them that just understands that they have this potential in life and they want to drain every ounce of energy in it. That inspires me. That makes me look in the mirror and say to myself, I'm not pushing myself hard enough. I've pushed myself at different times in my life, but I have more inside of me. And at the end of the day, that to me is when I'm the happiest, is when I am pushing myself to the limits. And so hopefully you've gotten a little bit of value out of this, but it fired me up this morning just thinking about it. So do something today outstanding. Push yourself further than you think you can push yourself, but find your hunger, find your zen, and find your pursuit of your journey of what fires you up the most and inspires you the most. Because remember, inspiration comes from within, and I don't know what inspires you, only you do. People can motivate you temporarily, but if you're going to do something at that level, there has to be some deeper level of inspiration inside of you. How hungry are you? We'll talk to you soon.